Excellent, thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the January 6th virtual meeting of Chatham's Historic Business District Commission. My name is Daniel Silver and I am the current chairman of the commission. Hopefully this meeting will unfold as follows. As soon as Sarah, our secretary, reads the governor's directive concerning these virtual meetings, we'll call a virtual roll call of the members who will be reviewing the applications this afternoon. Then the first order of business will be the minutes. As soon as those are approved, we'll move right on to the applications. Sarah, are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
Please note that okay. So pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 23rd order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Historic Business District Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 790-884-128#. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access, and we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible.
Thank you, Sarah. As I said, we'll now do a roll call of the members who are present. We're expecting Darcy Sequin, our vice chair, but I believe our secretary is here, Sam Stryber.
Sam Stryber's here.
Okay, and then regular member Robert Burns.
Bob Burns is here.
Okay, our first alternate Doug Grattan.
Doug Grattan is here.
And our second alternate Steve DuBois.
Steve DuBois is here.
Very good. So we have a quorum. As I said, the first order of business will be approval of the minutes, and those are the minutes of December 16th. Do we have any amendments to those minutes? Anybody?
Doug Grattan would like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes. We'll go on to voting. All in favor? Let's see. Darcy's not here. Sam Stryber?
Sam Stryber approves.
Robert Burns?
Bob Burns approves.
Doug Grattan?
Doug Grattan approves.
Steve DuBois?
Steve DuBois approves.
And Dan Silver approves. Very good. Excellent. So those are out of the way. Sam, our first applicant, our application is...
First application for additions and alterations is 20-116. JKM Property Investment, care of Sean Murphy. Application to replace wooden clapboards with vinyl siding on the front of the structure located at 1705 Main Street.
All right, Sarah, you said we have a representative here. Are the applicant themselves?
We do.
Sean, would you like to identify yourself?
Yep. How you doing? This is Sean Murphy, representing JKM Properties.
Good afternoon.
How are you? Happy New Year.
Well, thank you. So what can you give us a brief synopsis of your proposal? I think it's straightforward, but
yeah, no problem. So this building is part of the marketplace buildings. There's 5 buildings total. We own 3 of them within the marketplace. They're just at the end of George Ryder Road, across from Reservy's gas station. I think it's 2 years ago, maybe less, came to this board for approval on replacing the old clapboard siding with vinyl siding, and the board agreed. Let's kind of test 3 sides of the building and see how it looks, see how it goes, see how it kind of fits in. And then we can kind of address the front of the building at a later point in time. So we're, similar to what has occurred on these buildings since they've been built. The clapboard just does not stand up. We, are constantly painting them. They're constantly chipping. So You know, we did put the vinyl on 3 sides of all 3 buildings, and we'd like to chip away at replacing the front side with the vinyl. And you know, it's a little difficult not being in person and not being able to I guess show the props that I showed a few years ago, but I'm hoping the pictures help. You know, I think anybody that drives by the buildings or you know, has seen them, it would be hard pressed to tell that there's even vinyl on these buildings. And I can tell you, you know, from our ownership perspective, it's been a blessing. You know, they look good. They don't pale. We're not constantly battling water issues, although we are, you know, on this front of this building because of the clapboard. The reason why we're here on this meeting. I hope I did the, you know, as good as I could with pictures to show just how good it does blend in. The color matches almost perfectly to the existing color of the clapboard. Size, shape, formality, everything seems to really do what we presented a few years ago. You know, again, unless you're standing on top of this thing, touching it, you'd be hard pressed to tell that there's any difference between the siding, except, you know, you could see the paling and the scraping and all that on the existing wood clapboard. So, you know, we kind of held true to what we said we would do. We did all 3 sides. We waited to let people kind of absorb it. We are having issues on the front of these buildings. Unfortunately, this year hasn't been the best year for our business, so we're kind of taking a chip away approach. Ideally, we'd like to do 1715 next, but this particular building is having some water issues and paling and paint issues, and therefore we wanted to present at least this one first.
All right, excellent, excellent presentation. Thank you. Let's find out what the members think. Steve, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I think, you know, what was done several years ago, you know, still looks good. So, you know, I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Doug?
I have no questions. I like the way it's presented.
Okay. Robert?
I have no questions. I think it's going to look good.
Okay. Sam?
Well, you know, I regret the final demise of wood clapboards. I wish they had a different way of applying paint. Of course, you should back paint all of this stuff. You should probably have a ventilation channel behind it if you were going to preserve the wood. But I agree that we should let them finish up the building.
All righty. The only question I have for the applicant is whether they're going to do the trim on the windows or any exterior trim the same way they did previously.
Yeah, I think we're going to stick with the same program. I think what distinguishes, or what helps with vinyl is the devil's in the detail, right? If you start putting, you know, the aluminum trim around windows and in the J channel, et cetera, it makes it more like a vinyl building. But when you do it the way we did it historically on these, preserving the existing trim, I think that's what really disguises the vinyl. So it would be sticking with the same program we did on the other 3 sides.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you.
If only the vinyl people had developed a way to prevent it from cupping, because that's the dead giveaway. Where it goes behind the J channel, you can see that the shadow that results is curved, and that wouldn't be a clapboard. But they haven't come up with a way to do that, or I don't think anybody's asked them.
Okay, folks. Is there a motion?
Doug Grant will make a motion for application 20-116 JKM Property Investment, care of John Murphy. Application to replace wooden clapboards with vinyl siding on the front of the structure located at 1705 Main Street as presented.
Is there a second?
Bob Burns, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion among commission members? Any further questions, Steve?
No further questions.
Okay. Doug, any further questions or comments?
Doug Grant has no further questions or comments.
Robert Burns?
Bob Burns, no further questions.
Sam Stryver?
No questions.
Okay, Darcy's still not with us yet. I have no further questions either. So we have a motion that's been made and seconded. Is that correct? It is correct. I hope so. Okay, we'll go on to voting. Steve, boy.
Steve votes to approve.
Doug Grattan?
Doug Grant votes to approve.
Robert Burns?
Bob Burns votes to approve.
Sam Stryver?
Sam Stryber votes to approve.
As does Dan Silver. Very good. Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Good luck.
All right, stay healthy. Happy New Year.
Happy New
You
Year.
as well.
Bye now.
Sam?
Yes, application 20-117, South Chatham Properties LLC, care of Rick Roy. Application to construct a walk-in cooler addition and install mechanical equipment at 1291 Main Street.
And I know that he's here. I saw him someplace.
I am here.
There he is.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Not often I come before the Historic Business District Commission, so it's going to be, I hope I'm doing the right format. The picture that you see that Sarah has just put up is actually looking from the building from the rear right-hand corner if you're looking at it from the street. But it does give you the idea of what's out there now. There's already mechanical equipment. The pass door that's next to the garage door is actually the door that goes into the front unit, which used to be Fancy's at one time. It's been a lot of different things, but that's probably the easiest way to get your bearings. The garage door actually goes to the t-shirt shop, which is actually located in the back of the building. The property, okay, is owned, okay, or the unit is owned now, I guess, by Matt Kay, who is the runs the Fish Mark Chatham Fish and Lobster from Dave Kahns. And I've kind of inherited Mac as a client, okay, because we've done pretty much all the renovations to the fish market over the years. And in 2018, Chatham Fish and Lobster did renovate the restaurant part, okay, which housed the restaurant and the fish market. What Mac is trying to do is he's actually taking over more of the building, and he's moving the fish market, all right, to the front corner. And I'm sure that there will be probably sometime in the future something that he'll do with Unit 4, which is where the fish market now is housed, whether he increases the restaurant or whatever. But he's quite an entrepreneur, and he's a pretty nice fella, and he seems to be doing a pretty nice job. So what his intent is to move the fish market down to this end of the building, but in order to be able to do it, he has to be able to move the refrigeration with him. So we're here before you today because we are planning on putting a walk-in cooler freezer combination along the side of the building. All right. The good part about this is it's tucked behind the 6-foot alcove in the building. It's more than 120 feet from the street. Okay. I think the corner of the building is 106. And we have enough area outside of it in order to be able to put in, some shrubbery in order to disguise it. It's not totally visible from the street, but you can see that even from the pictures, there's some shrubbery there, and Mac is agreeable to putting in, some vegetation in order to camouflage that. And the mechanical equipment that we're referring to is that there are a couple of air conditioner compressors that are already there, so we included it in the application just so that it wouldn't be an issue later on. The actual compressors for the units sit on top of them, which has been depicted in the plan. So, but obviously the fish market can't run without that, and they don't have access all the way to the back of the building, so this is the most logical location for it. I'd be happy to answer any questions or whatever.
Okay, let's see if there are any questions. Sam, you want to start us off on this?
Well, it looks like from the drawing, which has no scale on it, that the elevate. If you look at the elevation, you can see the coolers are 8 feet high, and that's existing. There we go. And those two compressors are ones for the building and not for the cooler. Where are the cooler ones?
The cooler, they're on top. Those are the compressors for the coolers.
Okay. And are there building compressors that will have to be moved?
Yeah, you can see that behind the shrubbery that's there. There are two compressors.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
So they'll stay there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, from the elevation, it looks like it needs a couple more trees, but that's and I hope the trees are higher than that so that you can hide the compressors. But you can't if that's the height of what's there existing. I think that's very fortuitous. If they're new ones, let's hope they grow.
Yeah, I think that if he plants the right species, Sam, we shouldn't have any trouble with camouflaging it. It's just, I could have made the trees bigger in the drawing, I suppose, but I'm sure that they're going to buy trees that are affordable and then let them grow into place.
Okay, they could prune the backs of these existing ones so that you could get the cooler in behind them, because they're plenty high enough. It's above the gutter line by 2 feet. Anyway, I think that's the only thing I'd be happy with is more screening if it's possible.
It is, Sam, and we will certainly do our best to make sure that we accomplish that.
Okay.
Okay, Sam?
Yep.
Okay, Robert?
Hi, Rick. This is Bob Burns. Rick, a couple questions. Is this an existing cooler that's on the other side of the building, or is it a new cooler?
It's a new cooler.
And the material on the outside of the cooler, is it aluminum? What's the color?
No, it's a white vinyl.
Oh, it's going to be, so it's not going to be a metal, it's going to be white vinyl.
Right.
Okay, and those are my two questions. And I agree with Sam that I was there today, and I think it really needs, it's going to come out about 9 feet, I think. And I think there's 3 feet that is exposed that you can see from the road. So I think if you can get additional shrubbery in there, would be great.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with that.
And those are my questions. So no, I like the fact that it's not going to be a shiny metal, but it's going to be vinyl, which is white vinyl, which is great, and the additional shrubs would really be good.
Okay, Robert, you all set?
Yes, no further questions. Thank you.
Okay. Doug?
I don't have any questions. I like the way it's presented, so I'm good.
Okay. Steve?
I don't have any questions. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay. I don't have any questions either. As long as there's additional plantings, I'm fine. All right, so do we have a motion?
Doug Grant will make a motion for application 20-117 South Chatham Properties LLC, care of Rick Roy. Application to construct a walk-in cooler addition and install mechanical equipment at 1291 Main Street as presented.
All right, do we have a second?
Bob Burns, second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. So any further comments from the commission members? Steve?
I don't have any further questions.
Okay, Doug?
No further questions.
Okay, Robert?
No
Comments
further
or
questions, Bob Burns.
Okay. Sam?
Sam Stryber has no further questions.
Nor do I. All right, ready to vote? Steve? Du Bois?
Steve votes to approve.
Doug Grattan?
Doug Bratton in favor?
Robert Burns?
Bob Burns approves.
Sam Stryver?
Sam Stryber approves.
Dan Silver approves as well. Thank you very much. By the way, Steve, you're taking, Doug, you're taking Darcy's place until she gets here. All righty.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Thank you very much. All right.
Thank
Sam,
you.
where are we?
We're at application number 20-118, Town of Chatham, care of Kathleen Donovan. Application to install EV charging stations located at 261 George Ryder Road.
All right. Do we have Kathy here with us? Kathleen? Hey, there you are.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chairman,
Good
members
evening.
of the commission. Thank you very much for having us back here. So as you'll recall from our last month's pre-application conference, we're here to discuss electric vehicle charging stations at 2 locations, but for right now, I'll just focus on the property at 261 George Ryder Road. If you'll recall from our last conversation, there will be 1 EV charging station in the front of the annex, and that's for public parking. And then the other 2 would be in the rear of the building, and those will be primarily that'll be for the town fleet vehicles, our electric vehicles that we have. So when we were here, when I was here last month, we discussed some concerns that the commission had. One of those concerns was the control box that was kind of located in the middle of the lawn. I've reached out to Eversource, and they believe that they can either move it back closer to the telephone pole or closer to the corner near the EV charging station. They were fine, that make either one work, but they were just asked if the commission had a preference, but they would make it work to make it more in line, or less, right out there in the lawn area, less visible, I guess we would say. So one other thing I wanted to mention is Terry Whalen is also here with us tonight. So if we have additional questions, Terry's been involved in the project for a while. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Another issue that was brought up is the color of the bollards. And so in speaking with Eversource again, and we discussed that they could put black sleeves over the bollards as opposed to the yellow. And the black bollards actually match what's out in front of the annex currently. The bollards that are there actually have some light fixtures on them as well. But those will be, so they'll be consistent with those bollards as well. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that covers the concerns that were had for this site itself. So be happy to answer any questions. And as I said, Terry Whalen's also here, should there be anything I can't answer.
Thank you, Kathleen. Yes, we just did discuss this quite extensively, and I think we're all familiar with it. So let's see what the comments are. And I think you addressed the concerns that the H.B.D.C had during that time. All right, Steve, Du Bois, any comments or questions?
No, I don't think I have any questions. It is, I guess everything, if we could move that control box, because it is kind of like a sore thumb out in the middle of the lawn there. If it can maybe go back by closer to the pole, maybe, so that everything is sort of together in one place. I think that would be a good idea.
Yep. Okay.
But other than that, I don't have any questions.
All right. Doug Grattan?
I have no questions. It looks, great. I agree with moving the box possible, so no further questions.
All right. Bob Burns?
No further questions.
Okay, Sam Stryver?
I'm definitely for moving the charging, the proposed control box enclosure right at the pole, not just closer, but at the pole. And I hope there'll be a screening device, a fence or something on it that is attractive, that matches the other things around. And I think using a black colored bollard would definitely not be so obtrusive. That that's really all my concerns are. I did speak about before about them going in a direct line, but since the town isn't paying for it, Eversource is paying for it, they can go wherever they want to go.
Yes, but they are willing, if I can, through the chair, just they said that they would be willing to work with us to, to make it look the way we want it to look. So we'll be in further contact with them moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay, Darcy's not here, and I haven't got any further questions or comments. My suggestion is if a motion is made for this particular application, it be conditioned such that the bollards are sleeved with a black sleeve, and that the box be moved back as close as possible to the pole.
All right, well, Doug Grattan will make a motion for application 20-118, Town of Chatham, care of Kathleen Donovan, application to install EV charging stations located at 261 George Ryder Road with the addition of black bollards and the control box moved as close as possible to the pole.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All right, further comments or questions from the commission members? Steve Du Bois?
I don't have any further questions.
Doug Grattan?
Doug has no further questions.
Bob Burns?
One question, is this the time to address signage and whether there's going to be a charge for these stations or some type of payment?
Sure, and if that's okay, I could ask Terry to jump in as well on this. So the signage would be standard signage, likely made through our DPW. I think it's typically white with red lettering, just for the duration of time, perhaps, that the charging station could be used. We have a larger policy discussion about whether or not we will actually be charging for these locations. I'm going to have Terry jump in to see whether any further discussion has taken place in that regard.
Yeah, good afternoon, Terry Whalen, Town of Chatham. Yeah, just again, I think Katie really covered it. Still to be determined, but basically the units will be capable to accommodate that going forward. So that's just they're essentially Wi-Fi enabled units so that they can be programmed for multiple types of charging uses at different times of the day, that type of thing. So that's still to be determined, but the units themselves will be capable to accommodate that.
And on the signs, is it good? They're going to be white with red lettering? Is there going to be some type of? We have a lot of signs in town that have fines on them for parking too long. Is there going to be just what's going to be on the signs? What is it? You have a sample?
We don't. We haven't determined that yet because we haven't determined whether or not we are going to put a time limit on it. I mean, typically, and I may ask Terry to jump in here. I think, again, that's a further discussion, from a policy standpoint as to whether or not we are going to limit the amount of time. I think it's something that we should do, especially more so perhaps at the next location at 549 Main Street. But I know that, in our discussions, my understanding was that, perhaps, that's the typical signage would be white with red lettering. And I'm not sure if that was with Terry or with Eversource, that further discussion, but if Terry could. Yeah,
I'll just chime in again. I think Katie's hit again right on the the head there. So if you're familiar with the kind of limitation signage at Town Hall for parking, so again, basically the white background with red lettering. So it would be, on the order of a I don't want to say small information sign, but a more of like a speed limit type of sign size. So it would be, if you're familiar with those signs that are by Town Hall, if you come in to do public business, that's essentially the look. So very scaled down, not too large, but just really with the focus on the red being regulatory versus advisory.
Okay, thank you. No further questions from me.
All right, this is Dan Silver. We can also ask them to come back for that signage to be reviewed. I'm sure they'll be happy to do that.
If you'd like us to, would be happy to do that. If we decide to put signage up, would be
Sure.
happy to do
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it, Katie.
Sure.
All righty. All right, Dan Silver has no questions or comments. So we've had a motion. We need to vote now, and it's been seconded. All right. Steve DuBois?
Steve votes to approve.
Okay. Doug Grattan?
Doug Grattan votes to approve.
Bob Burns?
Bob Burns votes to approve.
Sam Stryber?
Sam Stryber approves.
Dan Silver approves. Very good. Thank you. All righty. Sam?
Application for 20-119, Town of Chatham, Kathleen Donovan. Application to install EV charging station located at 549 Main Street.
All right, thank you. So again, back here in a formal capacity after our pre-application conference last month. So I had reached out with the questions and the concerns to get some answers for you regarding the concerns in this location. One of the questions that we had, Sarah, if you could scroll down a little bit, right there actually. If, again, we can make the bollards in this location, we can make those covered in the black sleeves. There was a question about the painting of the parking spaces, and we will have to follow the requirements of the grant. As we receive these through a grant through Mass DEP, we do have to follow the grant requirements. So if the grant requirements does require the green painting of the parking space, we will have to adhere to that. The other question I think that was brought up by the chair was the location and why it was, kind of out into the parking lot. In conversation with Eversource, that location of the charging station had to do with the fact they didn't want to hit the roots of the trees. So there was a concern there. So it will likely be more uniform. This is just a markup, as you know, that, often, comes with an application. But the idea would be that they didn't want to disturb the roots of the tree, and that's why they chose, or they're showing the location of the charging station set out into the parking lot and not further back. So if I'm not mistaken, I think that covers the questions that were had for 549 Main, but I'm, again, happy to answer any further questions you may have.
All right, let's see what those may be. We'll start with comments or questions from the commission. Steve DuBois?
I have no questions, but I am curious as to how this is going to be policed and how we're going to avoid people abusing the parking spots. But other than that, I think it's a good idea.
Doug Grattan?
Doug Grattan here. I understand the bollards being black for aesthetic reasons, but with the public parking there, would the yellow serve better to protect the charging station as far as visibility goes? Or does Kathleen, do you prefer the black over the yellow anyway? That's just my question.
If I could, through the chair, so actually in my conversation, I should have mentioned this earlier as well. So the idea would be, it would be a black sleeve with a strip, with a reflective strip along the front of it so that it would be visible and for safety standards.
All right, that's fine. And I think, if it's got to be painted green for the grant, that's what we need to do. So I have no further questions.
All right, Robert Burns.
Katie, one question on the grant. Does that mean that George Ryder would also have to be painted green for this grant?
I'm going to ask Terry to jump in here because he's been involved a little bit further along with the project. And so I just want to make sure that I don't want to answer incorrectly. We didn't show, I don't think that we showed that parking spot as green, but I just want to confirm with Terry.
Correct. Yeah, Terry Whalen again, and through the chair and Katie in response. So actually at the annex at the back, those are not being funded through the DEP grant, and the front also I don't believe triggers the green requirement there as it does at the town hall site. So that's why they're excuse me, shown as green on the town hall plan for the DEP grant requirement.
Okay, if you can do it, it would be nice on the Main Street is just to have that charging station with some green in it instead of the whole area green. But I'll leave that up to you. But I understand the grant and the limitations.
Sure, and as we said, I mean, from an aesthetic reason, we'd like to, we'll do whatever we can, but if this is certainly not to the pleasure of the board, we'll certainly try to minimize the brightness of it, if you will.
Yeah, and that charging station with the green on top, that would look pretty good there. But I'll leave it up to the grant and what you have to do, what you have to comply with.
Thank you.
All right, Sam Scribert.
Well, I just don't like the way the charging station impacts the parking area and the order that the parking area is that tree roots notwithstanding, this one could be, why is it so close to that route anyway? Why can't it be back? Why can't it be back and split the two parking spaces? I'm not sure I understand whether that big hunking route that we saw in that other photograph goes right where the charging station is supposed to go. You can't see me point, but is this route continue all the way across? Why can't the root that's over on the tree on the right, move the little hand over to the root on the tree? There, that root. Does it go all the way at the back of the curb?
That was my understanding in speaking with Eversource. And I may ask if Terry could comment on whether or not there's any ability for us to move these two spaces a little bit further down. I'm not sure if we are tied into these spots, but I know this had to do with some previous work that Eversource had done at Town Hall. So I may just ask if Terry could jump in on that one, that possibility.
Yeah, and again, this is Terry, and through the chair. And Sarah, if you're controlling, if you could maybe circle the station. Yeah, perfect. Well, we can see if we can move that a little bit. There are some utilities there as well. There's a gas line and other utilities, but we can see if we can shift it. Those two trees, the roots extend, essentially in front of both of those areas. So we can see if if that could be moved over just a little bit to bisect that line a little bit better.
Okay.
And we can do the best we can to move that over as much, since we're already going to be digging for that bollard there. So, provided there's not a utility conflict, but there's a lot of utilities in there as well. There's other conduit, as Katie said, and the gas line is in that vicinity as well.
All right.
All right, Dan Silver, I think we've been through this and over this quite a bit. I think we're ready for a motion.
Doug Grant will make a motion for application 20-119, Town of Chatham, care of Kathleen Dunman, Donovan, application to install EV charging stations at 549 Main Street as presented.
All right, do we have a second?
Bob Burns, second.
Okay, we have a second. We'll see if we have any further comments or questions. Steve, Boyd?
I have no further questions.
All right, Doug Grattan?
Katie, I have one quick question. The charging stations in the back, are those public or are those for town vehicles?
Those are intended for employee parking, but I don't believe that we are going to restrict it. Terry, if you could just jump in on that, but I do think that is currently employee parking. So that's my understanding.
Okay.
Right. So, oh, sorry, if I can, Terry. Yeah. So again, that off the cross street side, again, would basically carry the same restriction right now. So for public employees, for the employees during the day, and then we'll determine with the signage as well what the use will be, but it will not be restricted 24/7 for the public employees. So it'll be open to the public for the non-town hall hours.
Okay, thank you.
Robert Burnt, did I miss you, Bob, or did I not?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Sam Schreiber?
No, I have no questions.
Nor do I, Dan Silver. So you ready to vote? All right. Steve DuBois.
I vote to approve.
Doug Grattan.
Doug Grattan votes to approve.
Bob Burns.
Bob,
Bob, you there?
you're muted. You're muted, Bob.
Bob Burns approves.
Okay. Sam Schreiber.
Sam Stryber approves.
Dan Silver approves as well. Thank you very much. All
Thank
right,
you.
Sam. Thank you, Kathleen.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Next application is a sign 20-120, Town of Chatham, Kathleen Donovan. This is 90 Bridge Street. Application to install an Expedition Blue display located at 90 Bridge Street.
Okay. All right. All set to go?
All set, Kathleen.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you again. So I'm here tonight before you for somewhat of a unique situation. We've applied under the sign after conversation with Sarah and the chair. It's kind of a unique situation in that it's not really a sign, it's more of a display, a cultural display, if you will. So if you just don't mind for a minute, I'd like to just give you some background on the Blue Economy project. So this project, the town has partnered with the Cape Cod Chamber Blue Economy project for these Expedition Blue installations. And I just want to give you a little bit of background on Expedition Blue. So Expedition Blue is a network of sites in the Cape Cod region, showcasing how water anchors our landscape, powers our economy, and inspires our future. A key component to the overall Cape Cod Blue Economy project, Expedition Blue builds awareness of the past, present, and future of the blue economy in our region. It connects a broad regional interests and offerings of blue economy sectors and appeals to a wide audience of educators, visitors, locals, and special interest groups. The project includes a physical installation of exhibits in each location. And again, will be Cape-wide. Some components of that installation will be uniform across the networks, while others will be customized to fit the story told at each particular site. Each site will be unique with a particular blue economy focus, which will tie back to the Cape Cod Blue Economy Action Plan. So Expedition Blue will create a network of interconnected sites across the region where participants can learn and experience everyday activities that tie our maritime heritage in the modern blue economy. In all aspects of life, Cape Cod, the islands, and southern Plymouth County are all about the water. The region is making a concerted effort to grow its economy in a sustainable and balanced way, while focusing on protecting and promoting the water and coastal resources. This project will provide an opportunity to connect visitors, students, and residents with the important role of the water-based maritime industries in this region's success and identity. So just a little bit about our local project. We are before you tonight for the 90 Bridge Street location, but there are actually 4 installations going in Chatham. They're located obviously at 90 Bridge Street. There is a small installation or extra small installation at the Lighthouse Overlook, one at the Fish Pier, and then one at Oyster Pond. And these sites were chosen after we had formed a working group to look at the different locations. But one thing that's, kind of neat in this area is that all of these locations are on the loop. And so it's walkable and people can access all of these sites. So Sarah, if you could. So as you'll see here on the Expedition Blue kit of parts, the panel that is going at, we're proposing at 90 Bridge Street is option 2 of the extra small panel. And basically what that panel does is it provides a window. And the window, it frames a view. It's going to frame the view in this area of Stage Harbor, as you'll see here. And again, looking forward, if there is a new upweller in that location, we will work with Natural Resources to find another location on this property to locate the panel to keep the project going. But basically what will happen is that there'll be a small sign, Sarah, if you could just kind of point out that location here, with a little bit of history about this particular site, this particular location. And then what it will have is a QR code that you'll scan with your phone. And you'll be able to, at that point in time, either read a little bit more about this location or learn about it, at your leisure later on. So again, we had looked at a lot of sites and the working group thought that, this would be the best looking at our blue economy and also being able to engage a number of citizens and visitors. So I think that's all for now, but be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Kathleen. We'll start with Steve DeVois. Any comments or questions?
No, I don't have any. I don't think I have any questions.
All right, Doug Grattan.
Doug has no questions.
Bob Burns.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. Yeah.
Oh, you can hear me.
Yes.
Katie answered my question about if the upweller goes, then I guess it would probably have to be relocated.
We're hoping to keep it on this site, if I may through the chair. We're hoping to keep it on this site, and this is a partnership. I'm working very closely with staff from the Department of Natural Resources on this project, and so the idea is that once that design moves forward, we're likely to. We're intending to incorporate some sort of viewing of the Blue Economy project into the project overall.
Well, thank you.
Sam, driver.
Well, I'm sort of curious. What's in it for Chatham?
Well, again, working with the Cape Cod Chamber, it's. I think the biggest part of it is looking to grow our blue economy, all across the Cape, and that only benefits, Chatham and Chatham residents that make their water, make their living on the water, or through some sort of blue economy.
How does the sign promote the blue economy other than calling it that and giving it a little more of a brand? But,
so the idea is that, so the sign will have a short history of Stage Harbor with
okay.
some current goings on, if you will, and potentially future site of the upweller with some information about that. But it'll talk about the fleet. It'll talk about and again there'll be different stories told at each of the locations in Chatham. So the idea is that at each location you go to, when you scan the QR code, it's going to bring up different information. It'll all be interconnected for Chatham, but it's going to be specific to the location in kind of the view that you're looking at that time.
Uh-huh. All right, well, so, and because you're looking through a window, the window says, it's sort of a, says, this is it.
Right, yes, it's meant to frame the view, and that's why, we know that we would like to put it on the site, but we also, when we, when the panel is constructed, would like to bring it, and be able to, pivot it at the appropriate location to frame the best view that we think tells the best story. And again, working with the working group, which consists of myself, Dr. Duncanson, Ted Keon, Renee Gagney, our shellfish constable, Ted's our director of coastal resources, Shireen Davis, and then John Papalato from the Cape Cod Commercial Fishermen's Alliance. We'll all work together with other members of the community to see the stories or to choose the stories we want to tell about the Cape Cod, about Chatham's blue economy.
Well, I think some people will say it's a solution looking for a problem, but the money should go directly to the alliance and let them be better.
Well, I know that they are a proponent of the project. I think that they've been, so.
Well, because it's brand building. But it's, anyway, that has nothing to do with H.B.D.C, which cares about what it looks like. That's really what we're concerned with.
Okay, Sam?
Yep.
Okay, Katie, I have a question and a comment, and a few comments actually. Could this be replaced with just a plaque? Why do we have to have this window? Why do we have to have the whole structure? There's a plaque in front of the town office explaining a lot about Chatham. I believe there's a plaque in front of the lighthouse explaining the lighthouse. A plaque down by the fish pier saying that this is a fish pier, which I think would be rather obvious, would be appropriate. All I see here is you got a beautiful site that you're going to put a sign in front of. That'd be like going up and putting a big sign up in front of the Grand Canyon and saying, this is the Grand Canyon. I really think it's defeating the purpose and completely unnecessary. As far as the approach with the blue economy, I think you're a steamboat captain trying to sell tickets to the West Coast for the gold rush. All there is down here is a rush to see who catches the last fish. The shell fishing industry is on the edge. There really isn't that much room or opportunity for that many people down here to earn a year-round living. You're better off being a landscaper or a plumber or electrician. So I really can't go along with this. I think it's just pushing a false narrative, to be very honest with you. I know that there are people that move into town and get a sight on a fishing vessel, but unless you're a scalper out of New Bedford, you're not making that much money. There isn't that much money to be made here. We have a few that make a year-round living with clams, but as I say, I think it's a false narrative. I really, and to put something in front of a beautiful site to say that this is a beautiful site, I really think is self-defeating. So I'm sorry that the selectmen have gone along with this, but. Is there a reason why you can't just have a plaque out there? Like the one in front of the town office? Do you have to have a structure?
So, again, we've looked at this for quite some time, and the original idea was to look for some place for one of the larger cube structures. But we didn't, we thought about potentially proposing something. We did propose that for the Oyster Pond location, but had some, concern from the Parks and Rec Commission. So what we thought was if we, again, so what we're looking to do in the other locations is the option 2, Sarah, if you could, of the extra small. Those posts are actually going to, that's going to be at the Fish Pier, Oyster Pond, and the Lighthouse Overlook. So that is what you'll see there. These larger, the larger panel, the only place the larger panel is going is at 90 Bridge Street. That's the only place that we're proposing it. And again, so it's a 4 foot high, the wall is 4 feet high, and then, and then it frames the view above. So the idea isn't to block the view. The idea is to bring people to the view. and then to get people to learn about the blue economy. It's to attract people to see it in a different way than they may see it now. And so, it is meant to attract attention, and it's meant to attract people to come and to view it and to learn more about what goes on in the blue economy in Chatham.
Well, once again, wouldn't a plaque on a post, a single post out down the oyster pond or at the overlook do the same thing?
Oh, they're doing that then.
Well, this is meant to be interconnected throughout the entire Cape Cod region. And these are the designs that were chosen. And so the idea is that they're all similar, so that they're attracting people, so maybe somebody sees one of these in Wellfleet or Orleans, and then they see it in Chatham and they realize that it's part of the same project. And so they realize that they're going to be, learning more about Chatham. So the idea is that they're all going to be, versions of this kit of parts, if you will. And that's why we're not just proposing a plaque.
Well, okay, I think it's self-defeating, I really do. And I don't appreciate them being put up in those areas at all. But that's, if that's what you folks have decided to do, that's what you're going to do. All righty. Any further comments amongst commission members? Steve?
Yeah, I just, I tend to agree with you, Dan, and I didn't know how to say it, but because I don't know how much tourist traffic there is down there. What is the overall height of this structure? If the bottom half is 4 feet, is the top, so is this 8 feet high?
It is 8 feet high, yes, but that's why, again, there's a large opening meant to frame the view. So it is 8 feet tall, and the reason it's 8 feet tall is, again, because it goes along with the kit of parts to remain similar with the entire project.
Okay, I kind of tend to agree with Dan, and I don't think that's a good spot for something like this. I think it's not appropriate for there, but okay, thank you.
Thank you. And if I could, part of the reason that this site was chosen was, there is a lot that's going on in that area, but more importantly, that this is, it is a very walkable area, and people walk the loop quite often, not just locals, but visitors as well. And that's the idea is to, not to just get them to, walking the loop, but to be attracted and to look at the view and, again, to learn more about this. And that's why it's proposed in this location.
Katie, this is Bob Burns. How wide is it?
I think it's 8 by 8. It's yeah. So it's
Sure, it's a cube.
It's big.
It would have been a part of a cube, right? So then it's just one panel is what we've chosen to go with instead of a cube. That's what we're proposing.
Robert, you still there with us?
No further questions. I'm concerned with just the size of it. And Katie, you mentioned interconnected. Is that electronically interconnected, or is it just using your iPad or iPhone to click the QR code?
Yes, it would just be to click the QR code. There's nothing else interactive on there. It's just the QR code with the signage having a small history of the site and potentially, some current, activities that go on in the specific locations. So they're not meant to be, people won't be touching things. I mean, it literally will be a scan with the QR with the phone.
And that little display on the bottom, how big is that going to be? Is that just going to be something color on the right-hand side there?
Yes, I think that, we had determined, I think we were looking, I think it was probably, I think it was about 2, at the most it was, 2 by 3, but I don't believe it was any larger than that. Again, the fabrication is just, is just beginning for the project overall. So, and then the other idea is that if you see the small flag, up along the left-hand side of it, that will frame, that may frame another little view, perhaps. But, again, that's not necessarily.
Okay.
I don't think that, I'm not sure that that location of that little flag is finalized.
Okay, no further questions. Thanks.
Sam?
No, I have no further questions.
All right, do we have a motion?
Doug Grant will make a motion for the signs for application 20-120, Town of Chatham, care of Kathleen Donovan. Application to install an Expedition Blue display located at 90 Ridge Street as presented.
Is there a
Darcy
second?
Seacon will second the motion.
Oh, hi, Darcy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, Darcy's with us. All right, very good. Motion is made and seconded. Further discussion or any questions or comments? Steve DeBoy,
I don't have any further questions.
Doug Grattan,
Doug Grant has no further questions.
Robert Burns,
Bob Burns, no further questions.
or comments? No. Sam Strybert?
No, Sam Strybert, no further questions.
Okay, and once again, I want to reiterate that I think this is completely unnecessary. We could do with a small plaque. It's like putting a door up in a end of a parking lot with no house around it, just. So anyways, all right, ready to vote?
Yep.
Steve DeVoy,
I'm gonna vote to disapprove, and maybe they could come back with it. What there was an extra small option 1 or 2, just the post with the QR code reader on it. I don't like what's being proposed now.
okay. Doug Grattan,
I do understand what their goal is here, so I'm going to vote to approve.
oh, okay. Robert Burns,
I think that this is too big for the area. 8 by 8 is very big. I would be in favor of the single pole with the like you're doing at Oyster Pond and the Fish Pier with the QR reader on that pole. The other concern I've had is that area gets very busy with the scalpers now coming in with the boats and offloading there. There is not a lot of parking there, so I think this is really a big display for that piece of property.
okay. Sam Strybert,
I vote no.
all right. Darcy Sequin,
Darcy Sequin votes yes.
Dan Silva votes no. So what is that? 3-2, 3-3, 3-2.
I think it's,
Well, there can only be 5 voting members, Dan.
Right. So what is that? 3-2.
It would be, let's see here, 1, 2, 3 in opposition, 2 in support.
All right. Well, there you go.
okay. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, so now the next thing on the agenda is a pre-application conference. Monomoy Theater, care of Alexandra Properties LLC. Pre-application to discuss the demolition of existing buildings, conceptual plan for the properties located at 70 Depot Road and 776 Main Street.
Okay. Do we have our applicants here or the?
Yes, hello.
Clark,
Hi, this is Victoria Clark.
Okay, very good. Before we start, I just want to make a comment. I hope everybody just lowers their expectations on both sides here, and I'm hoping that we can work together. I think we can make this project work. So I don't think you're going to go away with a positive. Well, it's just a pre-app, so there won't be any formal vote. But anyways, I hope this is a path to conciliation here. Anyways, so what have you? We know what you're doing. We know what you're supposed to do. We know what happened at the selectmen's meeting, and so we're here again to discuss the demolition. Now, before we start, our secretary has suggested to me what I thought, and in my mind, I had it in the back of my mind as well, is that just to let you folks know, these demolitions could be conditioned such that the applicant would come back with a plan of what was going to go up in each one of the locations individually. So you could approve the demolitions, conditions such that the applicant come back with a full set of plans of what they propose to go in that area. But we'll see what happens tonight. So let's hear from the Clarks again. You are proposing demolition on Depot Street?
Yes, so we are proposing the demolition of the structure at 70 Depot Road, as well as 4 structures on the Main Street side that are what is currently referred to as the scene shop, which is the apartment building, which is to the left, yes, that one, as well as the refreshment center, which is directly to the left of the theater,
Right.
and the shed that is that building as well, yes.
Okay, and are you
so
still?
our,
I'm sorry.
oh, sorry. No, you can ask your question.
Are you still proposing to restore the house in the theater?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
you are.
that
Okay.
is still part of our proposed plan.
All right.
And regarding the development of the other half of the property, what we would like to do is, if we are approved to demo those total of 5 buildings, we would like to shift. Obviously, right now, the property line for Depot Road is a smaller footprint, and the rest of most of the land of the 2 properties is allocated to the Main Street side. We would like to realign the property line and create a subdivision that only has access via Depot Road that would contain 6 houses. And then on the front half of the property, we would like to restore and renovate the Washington Taylor House and the Monomoy Theater building.
Okay, so what you're saying is there would be no access to 28.
Yes. It would only be in and out via Depot Road, hence why there's a cul-de-sac, so that it could have multiple one entrance and exit, and that the 2 properties, obviously this has to be approved, but would be separated by some trees and fencing along the Depot Road property side, as well as the Monomoy Theater side, to distinguish the 2.
Okay, so
sides.
the plot plan that we have showing the footprints of the buildings is the materials that we have so far. Is that correct?
The plot plan shows what it shows the current lot sizes, not the building sizes exactly, but the footprint is, it doesn't include the footprint, but the footprint is about a little less than 2,000 square feet. Nothing is defined yet, but we broke down the 6 lots into, I don't think you can see it from the way the map is zoomed out, but each lot has the square footage of what each size would be. The smallest one being a little over 7,000 square feet, and the largest lot size being a little over 14,000 square feet.
Okay. Gee, that doesn't give us much to go by, but it does give us a better idea than we had the last time. Appreciate you bringing that in. Let's see what questions do the members have here. Steve?
All right, well, I guess the first question I have is these proposed dwellings, they're all single-family houses?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, well, that was my biggest concern, I guess. Why doesn't somebody else go on, and I'll come up with some more, I'm sure.
All right. Doug?
I don't have any questions at this point. I understand, 70 Depot will be coming down, so I have no questions at this point.
Okay, Robert?
Question I have is on the setbacks, and I would assume that the final plan would have to go before the planning board for the setbacks between, especially the 2 properties.
Yes, that is correct. The way we drew them now is with the existing setbacks for GB2 zoning. So we would obviously go in front of the planning board to get all of that approved, and we're not looking to have variance from the traditional setbacks.
Yes, and it looks like from this plan that where that building, I forget which one it was, is next to the shed. It looks like they're going to be a house where the shed was, and a house next to the a house on where the apartments were. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. The two back.
Last time, I think you mentioned that there would be nothing built on those areas once we approve the tear down. So that's changed then.
Yes, that's changed since we started working with Clark Engineering and looking at the possible breakdowns of the subdivisions and seeing what areas fit within setbacks and sizes, et cetera.
Okay. And then the last question would be, is the theater will be restored, but is it going to be operational?
We're not entirely positive yet, just because it's right now with the state of coronavirus, looking to the future is quite hard, especially with everything with indoor seating and live theater not happening anytime in the near future. Broadway is closed until 2022. So I think we're just trying to, we're looking ahead, but we have not yet determined what will happen to the front portion. Okay,
and then if it becomes operational, have you given consideration to parking?
We haven't gotten that far yet, exactly. So no, we have not.
Okay, all right. No further questions.
All right, Sam?
Okay, this is a great improvement over having nothing. And it is a bit more of an improvement over what you showed us last fall. Because I think the houses, well, they're bigger than what you had before, but that's also forced you to come closer to the theater. And so three things come to mind. One is what all these little corners all around might suggest in the way of a building. And I think that probably would be difficult to build all these little jig-jags, and you wouldn't be satisfied with how they all compose together. But given that you're just essentially telling us that this kind of size would go on this lot in this configuration, I'm okay with it. Now, we do have a particular problem with Lot 5 and Lot 4, because those two lots sit on about a 6 to 10 foot elevation change. And it's sort of hard to build on a slope like that and have it marketable. So you're going to have to step the slope somewhat in some way, and that might affect how the whole thing appears. That would be one thing. Then I noticed that when I walked the park today, up into towards the ball field on the east side of the lot, is a dance platform that's of considerable size. And in our zoning, Sarah can correct me on this, a deck is considered a structure and has all the other considerations. So you would have to come, if you're not going to keep it, which you don't show it in the plan, you'd have to come back to us for demolition of that.
Sam, so may I interject? It would be a deck is considered a structure if it's over 30 inches off the ground. and needs to meet a certain size requirement. I reviewed that with the building commissioner earlier today, just in case the question came up.
So because I think you can step up onto this thing, maybe it's at worst 2 feet, maybe 18 inches. You're considering it not a structure and they can demolish it at will.
So a ground level, like a patio, wouldn't require a building permit. So if you don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did check with Jay earlier today just to confirm that in case the question came up.
Okay, so and as a result, you're not counting this as a structure that requires a demo permit.
Correct. We would need confirmation that it met that it did not meet the requirements of a deck and therefore wouldn't need a demolition permit.
All right. Well, that solves that. I'd be curious what they thought about how they would deal with the slope.
Sam, this is Greg Clark. So David Clark, who's doing the engineering on this, was just tasked with putting this preliminary together for this quick time frame. We know that the grades there are up and down. They fall off as you go toward the ball field, and they drop off when you get heading toward the theater building. Right now, there's a wood retaining wall that's probably about 4 to 5 feet tall behind the two structures that we propose to take down at the back of the theater property. That would have to be reestablished at a further distance out, but we would reestablish it with a product that would be acceptable to the H.B.D.C. And again, we would propose to put a fence and landscaping up there to hide any view from Main Street of the buildings that would be on this proposed subdivision in the back.
Did we just lose him?
What? No,
I'm here.
No.
Okay.
I'm done. That's my thing.
Okay, Sarah, I had asked you previously if you would inform the commission as to what they can put there by rights. It's not my understanding they couldn't put residential. Is that correct?
So residential uses in a general business zone require a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. It's typically in a business zone, you're looking at business type uses, professional offices, retail, those types of things are by right. I will say by right, as far as they don't need to go to zoning. They would still need approval, site plan approval from the planning board if they were to put any of those types of uses. But residential will require approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals via a special permit.
Okay, and they would have to go to the planning board for this subdivision along with the road and the curb cut. Is that correct?
Yes, they will.
Okay, so are we being put in the correct order here in your estimation?
So this is only a pre-application.
I understand that.
But however, we cannot dictate the order in which anyone comes before the boards. Typically, it would be easier if they were to apply for some sort of subdivision where it's a preliminary subdivision. That way, this commission would be able to have an accurate detail on any lots that are proposed, landscape plans, plans for future dwellings. However, if they're looking to demolish some of the existing structures, the board could proceed with that upon application to the commission. They would be able to proceed without running afoul of any procedural issues.
Yeah. Are there any comments about that statement from Sarah? Darcy, you asked a question, I think, before, whether they have to go to the planning board.
Yeah, Bob has asked almost all the questions that I had. My concern is still with the theater and what's going to happen there. In my opinion, I think I would like to suggest that they go to the planning board first. because they're going to come to us with a demolition. We haven't seen any buildings yet, what they're going to look like, but my concern is that there isn't going to be enough room for parking or anything at the theater. And I think the planning board might be able to suggest something for them. And then if they came back to us, I think it'd make our job a little bit easier.
Yeah, this is Dan Silver. Speaking to the applicants, we have done similar, looked at similar subdivisions, certainly Hydrangea Drive, Kendrick Drive across the street from that. And I believe that there have been bigger subdivisions than this up at Julie Harris's farm. What was that road? Ellie's Lane, Sarah? Is that what you said it was? But anyways.
Levi's Path?
We certainly have seen bigger one dealt with the same size. I'm somewhat comforted in the fact of knowing that these are single family dwellings. I like that. I just think they need a more detailed plot plan for us to get an idea of what size houses are going to go on there. And I know that David just drew outlines of footprints of houses, but I think it would help if we knew where the driveways were, where the garages were going to be, more or less. So I'm more inclined, the more I see, the more I'm inclined to, vote in favor of the demolition. I think we could do that tonight if we wanted to, if they were willing to come back, if they were willing to have them, the demolitions conditions on the presentation of a plot plan and approval from zoning. I know that they are desperately looking for some direction themselves. So the usual process that this takes is it would go to zoning, or no, it would first go to planning and then to us and then to zoning. Usually, I believe that's the way it goes.
Well, this is just...
And I'd be also willing to approve the demolitions, because I don't think there's anything about any of those structures that is worth saving. But I would caution them from thinking that because they're going to screen the housing with trees, that they're therefore not be visible from Main Street, so therefore they wouldn't have to go to the H.B.D.C, because I can assure you that no tree can be planted the first day that's going to screen a two-story house. And so we're going to be in for a penny, in for a dime on all those houses.
I thought this was a pre-app, though. Are we supposed to be able to vote on it?
No, it's a pre-app. It's pre-app, Darcy. Yeah.
I'd be willing to vote for the demo.
If what?
So there will be no official vote this evening, as the applicants have not applied for or reapplied for demolition of either of these structures. This is just a pre-application to sort of give them a feeling of the commission.
So who was that just spoke?
That was Sarah, sorry.
I'm sorry?
Sarah Clark.
Right, no, but who said I'd be in favor of the demolition?
Sam did.
Sam.
Oh, Sam. Oh, yeah, he said that. I thought someone else jumped in there. No?
I would also be in favor of demolition.
Okay. Would you have any conditions on it? Doug?
Yeah, I think we need to see what else, with the planning board approval or something. But I understand the direction they're heading in, and I agree with what they want to do.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you. All righty, Steve, you were.
Well, yeah, I think this is a much better plan than what was proposed the first time and what was voted on by the town in October. So I think it's a good start, and maybe they should go to the planning board to make sure that they can actually do all these things first. But I think it's a good start.
Okay, so what I'm going to say, folks, and I want you to listen very carefully, is that I'm going to tell the clerks that what I'm hearing tonight on this pre-application is that the board would be in favor of the demolitions, provided that we get a little further along in the design phase. And that, to me, that would mean eventually coming before the board with each of our individual building, which we're going to have to do anyways. But hopefully they would do the, the background first, the layout and the zoning before they come before us, or at least the planning board before they come to us. So does that make them any happier? The Clarks there, they're listening?
I understand what you're saying. And when we came initially, we had said that from the beginning, that we don't plan on taking anything down until we have a final plan approved by planning, zoning, and H.B.D.C. We know we have to go through that process. We just needed to get a sense from the H.B.D.C. initially whether or not they felt those properties, those structures were historic, and something like this wouldn't even be feasible, because going in front of planning and then zoning, and if we did tweak things and get their approvals and then come back to H.B.D.C. and for some reason they said these structures can't come down, all the work with zoning and planning would have been for naught. So that's why we took the step of having, let's go in front of H.B.D.C. first and confirm whether or not that they would, knowing that we have to go through the other steps and come back to them after planning and zoning, nothing would be approved until we go through all three of those steps. But we'd have the comfort knowing that you're in agreement that those buildings could come down once we got a plan that was acceptable to the three different groups in the town.
Well, at this point, I think I'm saying what you want to hear is that what I'm hearing from the commission is that they would be willing to vote for the demolition, provided you gave us a little bit more, more detailed plan and approval from the planning board. So I think that's what they asked for in the beginning, was just additional information. So,
okay.
I mean, this is a normal course. You're already going to go there and you're going to have to do the work anyway. So we're not requesting you to do additional work.
No,
but I think you heard enough tonight to know that the buildings will come down if they're provided with those materials.
Okay. No, that's what we were looking for. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. I have a question from you. I love old buildings. Normally, I love old buildings. Like I like most dogs and cats. But I think you made a comment at the selectmen's meeting where you didn't think that reopening the Monomoy Theater was feasible at all, that it wouldn't sustain itself. Is that correct?
Under current conditions, absolutely not.
No, so absolutely not. There's no question there. I agree with you 100%. Do you think, if you restored it, do you think it would sustain itself?
Well, what we have to do is we have to go back out to the groups that we were talking to about running a theater program there and see where they stand today. Our conversations with them about a month ago was that they're hurting very badly themselves. They're trying to maintain what they're currently doing, and they're not looking to expand at this point. So, will that change in a year? I mean, don't forget, we expect that this is going to take a long time to get through this process. And then to build something is going to take some time too. So 2.5 years from now, 3 years from now, what's the state of people going to theaters? It's a guess, right? Okay. But if we can get people interested in it again, then there's the possibility to do something there.
Okay, because I'm going to read this in the paper tomorrow, but I know the building is old, and it was a theater, but I can't say that the aesthetics of it is really worth saving. I don't know how you feel. So I didn't know why you hadn't considered taking it down, because that was the pivoting point of the whole development. Is that correct?
Well, we've done a lot of historic renovation projects.
I understand that, yeah.
With the National Park Service, so they wouldn't let us take it down. They would have us restore the exterior. There's not a lot of architectural detail on that theater building. And if you look at the history of what it evolved from, being a barn, and then in addition to the barn, and so on. So the main house has more of the detail on it, and they would want that completely restored. which we
I
would.
agree 100%. We agree 100% there. I just honestly, unless it's the history you're trying to save, that building is just not, you're going to have a lot better buildings around it if you do this project than the theater itself. But I guess I'm getting off track here. So anyways.
Mhm.
I didn't know
Well,
if the drive behind you was to get enough money to restore that to make it a working theater, then you needed bigger buildings and more bedrooms and so forth and so on.
That was the original plan. The original plan was to do the condos and utilize. We were going to utilize a majority of the profits from the condos to restore the theater and expand the theater.
Right.
And that was going to that would have made the theater building free and clear of debt. So at that point there, you can try to run a theater program. With debt on the property, it would be very difficult, as most theater groups will tell you.
So with that theater gone, you could possibly put in smaller units or, single family units. Well, when I say smaller, I mean smaller in mass.
Yes.
But
if I can say something, when I looked at the floor plans, the footprints of each one of those houses, if it's a 2-story house on top of that thing, that's a very big house on a very small piece of property. There's a couple of developments here in Chatham, one across from the fish pier. I don't know what it's called. It's a pretty high density area. The houses are very small, but they're always filled. They're very marketable. Seniors all over the place are moving in there, and they have a much smaller footprint and would allow you to give a little more land to the theater maybe and get away from that. Get away from that slope if you could go back uphill a little bit. That's my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. We appreciate your input. I think we're talking the same type of plans, and I feel a lot more positive that we will find a path to get something done on the property in the next year, that we could then proceed to do something.
Okay, and when you do finally come before us with some plans or applications, I hope you realize that it won't be just you. There'll probably be a few continuances. I think we had like 14 meetings for the Chatham Village Market. That doesn't mean that we're opposed to you at all or opposed to the project. It just means that's what it takes,
Yeah.
So again, I'm going to reiterate what I heard tonight as chairman, that the members are in the majority in favor of demolition, provided that they get additional materials in a more detailed plot plan at this point. And if you can come up possibly with a picture or two, some cut sheets of the houses that would be typical of what you're proposing to put in there, which means that you wouldn't have to do designs. If you could just come up with some photos, showing the details, architectural details, the types of houses that you're going to put in there. That way you won't have to spend money on, architectural drawings at this time.
Okay.
So if you want to come before us again on another pre-app or extended pre-app, then that would be great. With those.
Yeah, we can definitely look at doing that. We may be able to just have some renderings done also, some quick elevation renderings.
Yeah, as I say, it doesn't. I'm not asking you to spend more money. I'm just do some cutouts. That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Something to approximate size too, obviously, with architectural details. Yeah. Some cut sheets. All righty.
All right.
Very good, sir. I think this has been a very, productive meeting. Is there any other comments you'd like to make?
No, just thank you again.
Very good. I thank you for coming.
Okay.
And giving us the time. You bet.
Good night.
All righty, folks. Here we are. Do we have any further business, Sam?
Not on the agenda sheet, no. I moved the adjournment.
Sam, the only other item would be any comments from the public, because there are a few members of the public that are in our audience this evening. So I don't know if anyone wishes to speak. Seeing none.
Somebody was yelling in the background.
I think that's someone's television. So I see
It's not mine.
no members of the public that are wishing to speak at this time.
All right, then, I'll entertain a motion.
Doug, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Darcy Sequin will second it.
Okay. Steve DeBoy,
I vote to adjourn.
Doug Grattan,
Doug votes in favor.
Bob Burns,
Bob Burns in favor.
Sam Stryber,
Sam Stryber in favor.
Darcy Sequin.
Darcy Sequin in favor.
Folks, I'm in favor as well, and I thank you so much for a wonderful meeting. That really was great. Thank you for your
Have a good night.
cooperation and
Good night, everyone.
We're
Thank you.
officially adjourned at 6:07 p.m.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.